I'm going to ask Matt Park a question that if he had the answer to it, he'd probably make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And
you asked me the question during the break, so let's bring him on.
Is it a good question?
Yeah, let's bring him on, and you can ask the question. Our good friend Matt Park, voice of the Orange, kicking off hour number 2 with us. Matt, great to have you on, and our colleague, Paulie Sibilia, has a question for you.
All right, Matt. So you and I were both at the Purdue game. How does it, maybe it's not even Syracuse specific. Purdue's not like a football power. How do you build a culture like that for a fan base to be that good for even a team like Purdue? Is it the difference between the Big Ten and the ACC? Because that was impressive to me.
You're saying what, the game presentation and
the fan interaction, the fans showing up, because it's not a great product on the field, and they're still sold out for a Syracuse. Syracuse isn't exactly a huge draw either.
Yeah, it's interesting because the programs are alike in that they have more football history than might meet the eye, and most of what they've got going for them is history, or a lot of it at least. You think about Purdue has a ton of great Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks going back to Len Dawson and Bob Greasy before you get to Drew Brees and that type of thing. And Syracuse has its time in the 50s and 60s and that type of thing. I think the answer you're going for is generational, cultural thing. Football is what you do on a Saturday, and it's been passed on from generation to generation in your family. You can't underestimate, again, the size of these schools, right? These Big Ten schools. So when you think about comparing Syracuse against any of them outside of Northwestern, you're just going wrong. I mean, when you're talking about 30, 40, 50,000 students, they just have more alumni, which creates more fans. And that's a big part of it. Their game presentation, I thought, was excellent, better than I expected. They have, taken a page out of the book of a bunch of different places and played a lot of the common hits and favorites that, and I'm not saying the music, I'm just saying some of the tricks and things that they do. They put on a great show. I think one of the key elements to creating a great game day and hopefully repeating that over and over and making it a generational thing for your fans is demonstrating that football is fun. It's something you can come and do for the whole day with your family. It should be and could be the centerpiece of your weekend. And a lot of those Midwestern fans and certainly Southern fans don't need to be convinced of that.
All right, let's talk about the game before we move on to Army. And it was an impressive win. It seemed like a toss-up game. Syracuse went there; they were the better team. They win by a couple of touchdowns, and Garrett Schrader in particular, with a lights-out performance, 195 yards with his legs. I know it's a topic that's come up throughout the course of the week, Matt. Can they win like that on a regular basis? Meaning, obviously we know Gadsden's out, and to rely on Garrett Schrader to run the ball as much as he did. Is that a formula that can work week in and week out, or is that something that ultimately it's going to catch up with them and they got to find a way to be a little bit more balanced, I guess?
I don't think any team can rely on any one thing. I'm struggling to come up with an example of where one person was so transcendent that everybody knew they were going to get the ball and they were going to do it, and it worked over and over, over the course of a season. Garrett Schrader is incredible and has the ability to do a lot of things. I think one of the takeaways I had from the Purdue game was how much better the passing could have been given an inch here or there. Catch the ball down the field. Had a couple of those balls that didn't connect or maybe were caught but out of bounds, had those been in fair territory and caught, he doesn't run for 200 yards. He throws for 300 and
right.
and 3-4 touchdowns that way. So I know it's say right now, well, great game, but they can't do that with Garrett Schrader every game. Well, of course not. They're going to have to develop some other things. Just like when you say a team is, pass dominant or whatever, it's different receivers and the ability to spread the ball around that makes them impactful. So to really be a offense that's going to deliver game in and game out, you have to have other options. Certainly with Oronde Gadsden gone, one of your best and arguably your best option there is away. So, Trader, I think, was more of a factor. Other teams are going to play him differently. Do I expect them to run for 200 yards against Army? No. So they're going to have to come up with something else. And I think they have the opportunity to do that. I think they won't be, are they a dynamic offense? I think we need to see it against a better opponent before we say that.
And we'll certainly see as they grow and evolve through the course of the year and players step up and the receivers get better, just how much they miss Oronde Gadsden. But I guess my question to you is, you look at this team right now, they're 3-0, they're playing well, and I know some fans have allowed themselves to think this has the potential to be a special season. My question to you about Gadsden, how much will his absence impact the wins and losses this year? Do you think it impacts wins and losses? Obviously, they're going to miss him. Are they going to miss him to the degree where they maybe lose a couple games that they would have won had they had him out there?
It may, but I'm not ready to say that just yet. I think one of the ways it'll impact people is there's just so much attention put toward him. So now I think the defenses, instead of, kind of knowing the ball's going to him in a key situation or having to throw a second defender, that they don't have to do that, but then they don't really know. I mean, to me, it's, even money, whether it's Donovan Brown or Damian Alford or whoever else might be the pass-catching option. And, of course, Syracuse needs those guys to all be healthy and to develop over the course of the season. There's no question the receiving core takes a major step back without Oronde Gadsden. So those guys have to improve. They have to work together to make it difficult on the defense. Game on the line, was Gadsden so much of a go-to? Yeah, he probably, certainly was. I mean, you're very comfortable going to him even when the defense knows it's going to him. So to me, it remains to be seen. Is a game going to hinge on that? But I think you got to give respect to the Damian Alfords of the world who've also caught game-winning touchdowns in their history and give them the opportunity to do that this season.
All right, let's look ahead now to this contest against Army. And you've been doing this a long time. You know that there are such things as trap games or certain spots that would lend itself to a letdown or what have you. Coming off a big win on the road at Purdue, Clemson's next. How much does that apply to this Army game? That they might be in line for a little bit of a letdown going into Clemson.
Yeah, not to disappoint you, and maybe I'm in the wrong here. I'm probably in the minority. I'm not a huge believer in that kind of thing. If Syracuse loses to Army this week, it's going to be because they played poorly, probably because Army possessed the ball for a great deal, and Syracuse made one too many mistakes or had to pay for its turnovers or penalties or what have you. I don't think it's going to be because, oh my God, while we're playing this team in black and gold, we're thinking about the team in orange and purple. I don't know. I can't say for certain. Obviously there's human nature here, so there's some of that. I just think that's a convenient storyline to me. I mean, I think this is a game. In football, there's only 12 games. I hate hearing it. Oh, we're only focused on one game, and I think that's boring. But I do think it's an effective approach, and it's not that difficult to do. There's one game a week. Put everything you got into that one, and then when that's over, you get ready for the next.
All right, so with that being said, tell us a little bit about this opponent. It's it's not the prototypical Army team that we're used to seeing, where they run the ball 99% of the time. They're certainly going to try and run the football, but tell us about this Army team and what we can expect to see Saturday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to digging in a little bit more in terms of their X's and O's, because I know they're maybe trying to break away from what you perceive as typical academy football, service academy football. I'm looking up at the moment here explosive plays, and Army finds a way to get some. It's not like they're just going 4 yards at a time. Syracuse is second in the country in rushing plays of 20 yards or better on the season. UCLA has 12, Syracuse has 10, and then Army's just a little further down. They do find a way in their running game to create explosive plays. What they don't typically do is have explosives in the pass game, and unless they sneak up on you, and that kind of thing. So I think for Syracuse, and by the way, Army has no plays of 40 yards or more for the year. It's not matter neither to Syracuse, but the idea that Army's just going to pound it, I think they're breaking away from that a little bit, but they are run heavy enough that you can gear your defense toward that. I think if Syracuse stops the run in this game, they're in pretty decent shape.
You know, Matt, you said a moment ago, Syracuse may have a dynamic offense, but, we don't know quite yet. Give me something else that you're looking to get, whether it's out of this game or maybe the next couple of weeks that, you think you know something about this team, but you really like to see them do it, another couple of times or against a good opponent maybe for, next week, for instance, when Clemson comes to town.
Yeah, I'd like to see. We started to see a little bit of it last week, and maybe there's more opportunity. Can LaQuint Allen, or for that matter, any other back, I don't think he has to be exclusively the running back here. Can they get the ball on the perimeter? I thought Jason Beck did a nice job with his play calling to set up some running opportunities for Schrader and to, in a way, take what the defense gives and exploit it. So I'm sure he's looking at opportunities to do that against Army as well. But LaQuint Allen, what can he do on the edge, whether it's in the pass game, the wide running game, that type of thing, and see if there are big chunk plays there. Because I think if you do get chunk yardage and big explosive plays against Army, you're doing something that they won't be able to keep up with as well.
I'm not sure how much the team cares about this, but I know some fans are starting to clamor about it. If Syracuse beats Army on Saturday, you think they're going to be ranked next week?
Maybe. Obviously it's a function of what happens elsewhere out there. I mean, they're just kind of on the fringe of the top 25. But they're not 27th, 8th, or 9th, so they're a little further out. There's other teams that want to be in that spot. I don't think the national people are going to be real respectful of Syracuse's schedule if they are 4-0. So I would not hold my breath on that one. Would not rule it out, but wouldn't hold my breath.
And then I guess lastly, do you have a strong lean one way or the other on Clemson, Florida State? Obviously the game of the week in the ACC.
Florida State, I think, has a better roster, better talent. Why did they not? And I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of the games yet, unfortunately, because of our game times. But Florida State didn't bury Boston College. We were out in Lafayette there, and that game was kind of on the tube in the distance, and you're like, what's the deal here with Florida State kind of letting them hang around, and then that game wound up being a one-possession game. But I would pick Florida State in this game. It would be a little bit of a bummer, I think, seeing Clemson come in with 2 losses off, an awful loss. But I think that also puts you in a better position to beat them, and now we're getting ahead of ourselves. But, looking forward to watching it, though, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Matt, good stuff as always. And, again, we had you on today because we have no show tomorrow, but you've got Dino Babers' show tomorrow night at Heritage Hill, right?
We do, yep. Looking forward to it tomorrow night. We'll be out there with the whole gang.
We've got some hardware to pick up tomorrow.
That's right. We've got no show tomorrow, but
that's right.
Head out to Heritage Hill for the Dino Babers show, and then we'll all be listening Saturday inside the Dome, noon kickoff. Matt, thanks for coming on.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, the voice of the Orange.
All the money I save on not buying bougie things, Steve, I bribe the award council with.
Is that the secret?
Yes.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. All right. We're going to hit a timeout here. We've got Dan from Wildcat Sports Pub coming your way at 1:30. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.